Maximum Access Sports Network.
If you missed it last night, the Nationals fell behind early, forced to play catch-up. Good effort from the bullpen. A seventh-inning uprising that closed the gap to 1. But they came up just short in the series opener. Matt Chico looks to deal against the Cards and get the Nats back on track on Masson. Yeah, folks, that's sunshine. It looks like spring has finally arrived in the Midwest. Welcome to Busch Stadium, the home of the Cardinals, who took game 1 of the weekend series last night. It's Chico and Wainwright today. Bob Carpenter, Don Sutton, welcome to a beautiful day for baseball. About time. And let's talk about some guys swinging the bat pretty beautifully at this point early in the season.
Well, there were a couple things you could take out of last night's ballgame. You could either be depressed because they didn't win, or you could find some positive things to build on. I was taught to find the positive things to build on. The front end of the lineup doing their job, getting on base. Ronnie Belliard off to a great start, leading the ball club in RBIs. He's had some terrific at-bats. He's gone the other way for extra base hits. He's gapped them for base hits. He's yanked the ball. And one of the Cardinal players walked up to me today unsolicited and said, hey, Belliard can play some defense, can he? Christian Guzman, as good a leadoff hitter as there is going early in the season, and showed a little power last night, and he too has played some good defense. And let's not leave out the bullpen. The only reason we're talking about the possibility of coming back and possibly winning that game last night was a marvelous job done by the bullpen.
And I'm sure Saul Rivera could throw today if he has to. Austin Kearns off to a great start, hitting .353 so far. The soft-spoken man from Kentucky next with Don Sutton.
Game 2 of the series just around the corner on what has become a beautiful day here in St. Louis, and natives tell me spring has finally arrived. We hope so. Nip and tuck ball game last night, but the Nationals came out on the bottom end of it, and we have a few minutes before game time, so a chance to visit with and get to know Austin Kearns a little bit better. Austin, and all the people that I've talked to this year, everybody seems convinced that this is a better ball club than last year. How would you react to that statement?
I think we are. I think our offense is better. I think we can probably hold our own more in the game where some runs are going to be put on the board. I don't think it's a panic, or if we get down early, I think we got a lineup that's capable of turning over. But our pitchers, we had a lot of guys come up last year and held their head above the water, and I think they're just getting better. And hopefully, obviously, we can get Sean Hill back and have him healthy, and that would definitely mean a lot for us.
You've added some new players to the ball club. How have they fit in?
I think they've been great. I mean, a lot was made of when we got Lastings and Elijah, but they've been great. They've worked hard, played hard, and that's all you can ask. I mean, it's I judge you how you are on the baseball field. I mean, if you play hard, that's fine with me. I mean, I don't have any complaints.
That brings to mind a phrase that's used a lot now around baseball, and that term is, he plays the game the right way. What does that phrase mean to you?
I think someone who just, you don't have to question ever. I mean, some mistakes are going to happen sometimes, but, when a guy's, prepared and, going at it full speed and not just kind of, I guess, the lollygagging term or whatever, but, prepared and plays hard, you can accept mistakes, but and I think that's what it's about, just knowing the game and knowing how to play.
The last 2 ball games, you guys have had games where you've been up, then you've been down, you battle back, they were close. I get the feeling that last year, battling back and making it close might have been enough. I also get the feeling that's not enough this year.
No, I think, I know the last 2 days, we've come in there and those 2 losses are the kind of games that, eat at you a lot more than just if you come here and get beat 10-0. I mean, games where, I think for us to get where we need to be, and that's to be a winning team and a playoff team, we've got to win those games. And So they don't sit well with anybody.
500 season or just win today?
I want to win, and I'm not about the 500 stuff. I mean, you play this game to win, to play in the playoffs, to win a World Series. So, you know, it's something. I've never been on a winning team in the big leagues, and I think we all have the same goal, no matter what predictions are, what people say. You want to win a World Series.
That's Austin Kearns, Bob. And remember that phrase, I want to win. He said it, but I get the feeling that that's what the whole ball club is saying. Back up to you.
Thank you, Don. Matt Chico, 3 runs, 6 hits, pitched into the 6th inning in Philadelphia on Monday. And also on Monday, Adam Wainwright, the St. Louis ace, had his first start of the season rained out. Great day for baseball. Hopefully the Nationals now can try to break this 2-game losing streak. And it'll have to happen behind Matt Chico, and a suddenly resurgent St. Louis team stands in his way. Let's talk about the Nats lineup. They're hitting .249 so far. And Felipe Lopez Don still in left field today, and Jesus Flores a start.
Yeah, Felipe with a couple of good swings last night, but got kind of handcuffed a little bit on some good pitches. Jesus Flores, good time, his first time out, did a good job behind the plate and a good job hitting. And Austin Kearns off to such a good start. Hope you enjoyed the interview with him. I hope that as the year goes along, you get to know a little bit more about these guys rather than stats, because this ball club is made up of a collection of guys who do play the game the right way, and we'll try to bring them to you as we bring the lineup. And Adam Wainwright, the person they're facing. Interesting story about Wainwright. In the Braves organization, he was one of their top 5 prospects, came over here in a deal that sent J.D. Drew to Atlanta, and a starter in the Braves organization. Well, his first year up in the big leagues here, better than 60 appearances out of the bullpen, back to starting last year, and everybody believes a terrific future for him. Over the top fastball, throws downhill with a good curveball, but how many times did we say that last night about Cardinals pitchers? Here's a look at our PNC scouting report. 6'7", 228, yeah, downhill plane. And he is going to be a guy on this ball club that I believe is going to eat up some innings for him. Good curveball, and as I was starting to say, how many times did we say that last night? I believe that you trace that back to the philosophy of the organization. Bob was telling you last night about how frustrated Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, got. He's gotten over that frustration. There's some double overhanded yellow hammers on that pitching staff.
Yes, there are. When you're 6'7", that helps. Home plate umpire is the veteran Ed Montague today. And Christian Guzman steps in. Guzman hitting at .360, 9 for 25, and a home run in 5 trips last night. About 3 minutes late with first pitch at 1:13 Washington time. There's the breaking ball.
Now that's
a little bit low.
That's a strike. See what Dave Duncan gripes about? That ball across the plate. There's the rest of your umpiring crew. Lane Cousy and Wolf joining Ed Montague, one of the veterans.
Tough to get curveballs called for strikes still, huh?
At the bottom of the strike zone, yes, because I think so often it's called where it's caught rather than where it crosses home plate.
Klaus creeping in at third, and a sharply hit ball corralled by Adam Kennedy, who's been around for a long time. St. Louis made a couple of errors last night, Don. They're averaging an error per game so far.
And that's surprising because they pride themselves here on defense. Barton Ludwig in the corners and Keel back in center. You got a chance to see Kennedy. He's joined by Asturias up the middle with Klaus and Pujols at the corners. Molina behind the plate, and Adam Wainwright. There's a look at Adam on the mound, completing the 9.
Happy birthday to Lastings Milledge, 23 years of age today. He was in the minor leagues at this time last year, so his first birthday as a major leaguer.
23.
Ah, yes.
I have a tie that old, and as a matter of fact, it's the only one I own. I knew if I kept it long enough, it'd come back into style.
Might we see it sometime this year?
I doubt it.
Adam Kennedy throws out another batter. Jack Buck, before he passed on, who was somewhat of a philosopher as well as being a great baseball announcer, once said, "Youth, why did they have to waste it on the young?" There's Jack.
What a wonderful man.
Ryan Zimmerman with the bases empty and 2 outs. I talked to an ex-Cardinal who was a great defensive third baseman before the game today. Kenny Reitz, his name, maybe the best AstroTurf third baseman that ever played, probably along with Mike Schmidt. And I asked him about Ryan Zimmerman, and he said, well, from what I can see, he's got a big hole in his swing, up and in a couple places, but he said that's indicative of a young player. But he said, boy, his defense, I am very, very impressed with the way he handles himself at third. And Reitz told me something about Zimmerman I hadn't really thought of. He said for his age, he plays the game very relaxed. It doesn't look like he's in a hurry. Nothing is coming too fast for him. He already has that ability to slow things down.
Yeah, that's a term we haven't heard about him. We've heard the term he plays it maturely, and that's probably a different way of saying the same thing. Got a hole up and in, huh?
Well, you know, he hasn't seen him as much as we have.
You can pitch Babe Ruth, you could have up and in. You can pitch Hank Aaron up and in.
Yeah.
Everybody has a hole up and in. If that's the only spot you have in your swing that hurts you, you're going to have a great career.
But I'll tell you one thing against this pitcher, look out for the hammer low and away here, because Wainwright's good at it, and Ryan has been susceptible to that early in his career, as most young guys would be. And there's the target. He got a good piece of that one. That ball riding toward the bleachers, and it'll one hop and go in for a ground rule double. So Zimmerman with his third hit in his last 4 at bats in this series, and Don, during that time, the only time retired when we thought he had hit a home run last night, but Ankiel caught it at the wall.
He said he had a conversation a little bit later on with Albert Pujols about that, and Pujols consoled him a little bit and said, you know, I've hit 3 or 4 out there that don't go. Weighted back, kept the upper part back. That was that curveball. Not quite as good as Wainwright wanted it, but that's the only way to successful handle breaking stuff. Weight back and take it the other way. Pujols said, I've hit 3 or 4 balls out there that I thought were out, and they just hung there. And what I had forgotten was how hard Lastings Millage hit a ball last night that just hung up in the air.
Well, right center, there's a big scoreboard there that cuts off the air from coming in. Center and left center are wide open here because there's only one level of bleachers before you get to the street level out there. And so balls to left center don't always carry that well.
Still a big hole in the ground where the old ballpark was.
Yeah, remind me later to tell our folks who are astonished at the development around our ballpark what isn't going on here in St. Louis with theirs. It's a really interesting story. Breaking ball. Ooh, he got it called for a strike on Nick Johnson.
There are a lot of 10 to 15-year-olds who would tell you it would make a great skateboard park.
Nick with a couple of RBIs. He's 4 for 15 to start the season. Running fastball started off the plate, ran to the inside corner.
Good tight spin. He gets a lot of late fingertip action on that ball. 92 miles an hour, inch or 2 off the plate in, but by the time the movement is over, catches 2 or 3 inches of the plate. Gives him a lot of ways he can go on this pitch. Curveball, fastball away, curveball.
Nick Johnson can't get it. Strikes out for the 4th time this year. A 2-out double by Zimmerman, and the Nationals fail to cash in. St. Louis batting .276. Haven't scored a lot of runs so far. They have 3 homers, none by Albert Pujols, but of their 3 home runs, Rick Ankiel, the converted pitcher, has 2 of them, including one early here last night.
Unusual story. You see a lot of guys with strong arms who can't hit who become pitchers, but not pitchers who can't find home plate become successful everyday major league players. Thinking back on a number of guys that might have been able to do it, I believe Tim Hudson could have done it. Jake Peavy might be able to do it. Claude Osteen would have done it. So there were some good hitting pitchers around, but Matt Chico will try to stop the former good hitting pitcher. A great year for Matt Chico last year. Probably just happy to be with the club coming out of spring training, but he ended up leading the club in starts and innings. And I think expect an improvement on that this year with his newfound old delivery, which we'll talk about later.
25-year-old rookie Brian Barton had his best major league game last night. 2 for 5. He's 3 for 7 as a big leaguer. after the Cardinals got him from Cleveland in the Rule 5 draft December 6th. As I mentioned last night, interesting story. Didn't get drafted till he was 22 years of age out of the University of Miami, where he hit .371 his junior year and made the All-College World Series team. And Don Sutton pointed out to me, and I said, yes, you are correct. He reminds us of a young George Hendrick.
Well, just watch his action at the plate and how he carries himself. George a little more straight up as a hitter, and George didn't take many swings like that. He punished. George with 2 strikes would punish you up the middle. But in just watching his actions, the way he carries himself, and I mean that sincerely as a compliment, a little extra giddy up on that fastball and at a good spot. Anytime I say to somebody he compares to George Hendrick, it's a compliment.
Even in his dealings with the media, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Silent George was his nickname here.
At least he was consistent.
Legend had it that when the Cardinals won the World Series in '82, George was in his uniform in his car on his way out of town to California before the champagne was popped.
I don't doubt it. But at least he was consistent. He didn't ignore the media till he got out of baseball and wanted a job in broadcasting, or until he had something he wanted to promote, then be friendly with it.
Yeah.
He was consistent. He's been consistent as long as I've known him.
Here's a lefty-lefty matchup. Matt Chico has Ankiel 0-2, and on a breaking ball strikes him out. So the Nationals are already 2 runs better than they were at this point last evening.
Matt Chico is sharp early on. There's that high leg kick. Excellent 2-strike breaking ball. He couldn't put it in a better place. Starts in the plate, but you're not going to do anything with that one, even if you get some bat on it.
Next up, Albert Pujols, in his 8th year now as a big leaguer, and off to a good start, 6 for 12 with an RBI. Had a home run rained out here Monday. Ed Montague calls that fastball away. Tony La Russa at times has the same quandary on days like this he had with Mark McGwire. A lot of fans come to the ballpark to see Albert Pujols play, and here in St. Louis they come from many miles around. Some come hundreds of miles, and to play him a day game after a night game, not always an easy decision. Easy first inning though for Matt Chico. Couple of strikeouts and a routine fly ball. Matt's off to a good start in a scoreless game.
Sunday St. Louis, 1 in the book, no score heading to the 2nd inning. Let's check out our game notes early on, see what's going on here. And a lot of close ball game for the Nationals. You've been watching, you know that. Christian Guzman, red hot for the last 51 ball games. And the Nationals, who got off to a great start, hitting with runners in scoring position, the first couple of games have struggled a little bit. I had forgotten they left 11 on the last game in Philadelphia. 24 men stranded in the last 2 ball games, 13 of them last night.
Austin Kearns, top of the 2nd, ball fades inside on him. Kearns 6 for 17, a .353 mark, 4 RBIs, 4 walks.
You know what, Austin Kearns, unpretentious, unassuming. Every time I talk to him, I find something else to like about him.
Out to center he goes, drifting for it, Rick Ankiel. Thing I've noticed about Ankiel, who was a pitcher, he's showing some good instincts in the outfield, seems to get a good jump on the ball.
He's a good athlete. I think anytime you have a good athlete, he can make that transition. You can take enough fly balls and make enough throws that you can handle that part of it. I think the tough part is becoming a good hitter. But usually, let's face it, there are a lot of good pitchers who aren't good athletes. There are very few good centers who aren't good athletes.
Same result, Ronnie Belliard. Wainwright forcing the Nationals to use the big part of this field. This symmetrically, this field is similar to Washington. 335 to 338 down the lines, 375 in the gaps, 400 straightaway center field. They didn't trick this ballpark up, and we didn't trick our new ballpark up. And I had a conversation with the hitting coach before the game that shocked me because he loves quirky ballparks. And that was the great hitter Hal McRae, who's now on the staff here. He told me, I love those quirky ballparks because when the ball goes down the line or in the gaps, the fans get excited and nobody knows what's going to happen. Now, that is a true hitter speaking.
Oh, yeah. They want all the help they can get. Shrink the strike zone, lower the mound, don't call strikes.
He likes San Diego's park because it's quirky, but it's big. Not too wild about Houston. He, like me, agrees it's a little too shallow a couple of places.
I'll bet he likes the Dolphin Stadium, too.
Hal McRae was a great hitter. Played for the Kansas City Royals in the early days of that franchise when Lou Piniella and Cookie Rojas were on that team, starting in 1969 at Old Municipal Stadium in Kansas City. 3-1 to Felipe. He hits it well to center. And Rick Ankiel had to make an adjustment. That ball was slicing away from him, and he gathered that in. 4 straight for Wainwright after the Zimmerman double. No score, middle of the second.
Still no scores. We head to the bottom of the second inning. Matt Chico out for his second inning work. Let's check out the PNC scouting report on him. 5'11", 215, 220. Still a young man. And the surprise is making the ball club at all last year, but he's the guy that stayed healthy, stayed sharp, and led him in innings and starts. The new old delivery, the one he had when he was a kid that got him signed by the Diamondbacks. He's gone back to that. That solved a couple of problems. And for Matt today, which he did very well in the first inning, pitch ahead in the count, make the hitters defensive, and he has 3 pitches he could finish them off with. Fastball that's a little quicker with the new old delivery, and a better curveball than he had before. He's always had the good changeup.
Troy Glaus leads off, big strong third baseman. Off to a slow start. Has a homer. Only one other hit, though. He's 2 for 14. Swapped straight up for Scott Rowland, now with the Blue Jays. Don and I talking last night, just kind of interesting to see a deal like that, kind of an old-time baseball deal. My big guy for yours. We just don't see that many deals straight up anymore. Most player movement now is, other than the trading deadline, is based on free agency. Glaus is 31 years of age. He's had 100 RBIs on 3 different occasions from his days with the Angels. His best season, 2001, he had 41 home runs and drove in 108. Then he followed it up with 30 and 111 the following year, but then he had some rotator cuff problems that really stifled him and took away his power for a while. Went to Arizona, then to Toronto, now St. Louis. Drives that ball nicely up the middle.
Might have had an idea there that he was going to get the off-speed pitch because he waited well on the changeup and took it right back up the middle. Pretty good spot, just above knee high, right on the outer edge. See how everything, when you watch the upper part of his body, the hands, the bat, everything looked like he was intent on driving something up the middle.
Next up, Ryan Ludwig, who's been a bit of a journeyman in his career, 29 years of age. And he hacks one right off the mask of Jesus Flores. Paulo Duca getting the day off after a night game.
Not a whole lot of at-bats against Matt Chico for this Cardinal lineup. Only 10 coming into the ball game. Only 2 for Ludwig, but he's 1 for 2, and in the lineup he's the only guy that has hit a home run off Matt Chico.
Flirting with the inside corner, just missing. Ludwig, 6'3", 218, lives in Georgetown, Texas, and a former freshman All-American at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Zimmerman on an easy chance just to his left for the first out. But on a day game, sometimes those liners can be a little tricky. A lot of white and red behind home plate here. And we'd like to welcome you home, and we will be home Monday. How about some season ticket prorated plans as low as $10 a game per ticket and a plan for every fan? Go to nationals.com today or call 202-675-NATS. And don't forget to stop by nationals.com/way-to-go and check out new single game parking possibilities for you. Thanks to some of the research and hard work done by Stan Kasten and his staff, you no longer have to have a season ticket just to get parking. And that just became available yesterday. Nationals.com/way-to-go and follow the prompts to find out how much parking is where you'd like to park. There are 3 different places to park and 3 different price structures for that.
And just go to nationals.com anyway to find out about the team. There's a whole lot of stuff on that website.
Molina 3 for 11, homer, 2 RBIs. Double play guy if you get the grounder. But that's a liner to left. It'll fall in front of Lasting's Millage. Molina got jammed, and because the ball did get in on him, pardon me, Felipe Lopez, because the ball got in on him, it didn't carry out to Felipe.
Got the barrel out in front, had a little hooking action on it. See how far that ball was inside? But he kept the head down, and the barrel went out and around the ball. Got overspin.
And early in the game, Don, that's the right play to pull up and take that thing on a hop. There's Adam Kennedy, veteran player who could not hit a lick last year. He returned to the Cardinals, the team that originally drafted him, and hit .219. That's Adam Kennedy right there. Lopez takes it on a hop. Forced play at third. Outstanding done by Felipe Lopez. He just picked it up on the run, made the throw, and he gets himself an outfield assist.
And if you're Troy Glosh, you're dead. I mean, you got nothing you can do. You try to go halfway and hope he doesn't field it cleanly, but that ball may be caught, may not be caught. But that infield instincts and learning to play short hops really helped Felipe Lopez on that. And did you notice how he didn't try to overthrow the ball? Once he caught it, situations in front of you, just make a nice, easy one-hop throw. Don't get greedy. Don't get in a hurry.
And in case you do not know, that is not a base hit for the hitter. That's a fielder's choice, 7-5, and a good choice it was. Adam Wainwright, they've got the pitcher batting 8th. Now, normally this is a situation where this would work against you, but Wainwright is a very good hitting pitcher with 21 hits and a .309 career batting average. And one of his 2 home runs came last year against Matt Chico, August 5th at RFK. So he's a big guy who can hack.
Wow, if he's that good, you got a base open. You pitch around him to get to the 9th place hitter? I don't think so.
Well, Cesar Izturis had a couple of hits last night. So, well hit, base hit. That's an RBI. Molina scores. Going to third, Adam Kennedy, and the pitcher puts his own team on top. That's his 8th career run batted in.
Usually you're thinking, if I can get him to hit it on the ground, I got a good chance of getting an out, and that's certainly what Matt Chico had to be thinking. Jerry Lane checking, say, do you want a jacket? Because this pitch looked like down about kneecap high or lower. That's, I mean, those are some tall kneecaps there. Not even sure that was a strike, but found a spot. They were playing him a little bit to pull, so that was out of the reach of Guzman. And Wainwright continues his good hitting against the Nationals.
Cesar Izturis 2 for 11, both of those hits last night. So Chico, who threw only 9 pitches in the first inning, twice that here, and a run given up. He's given up 4 hits, except one turned out not to be a hit on the fielder's choice into the outfield. Of all things, Felipe Lopez gets his first career outfield assist on a force play.
Like still being in the infield. Matt may have had his thought process shaken just a little bit by that base hit by the pitcher. But from his demeanor, you'd never know it.
Early ball games today. Houston has 2 early runs at Wrigley Field against the Cubs. By the way, Chicago off to a 1-3 start. Phillies are at Cincinnati today, and the Reds have an early run as Adam Eaton goes against Aaron Harang there. Mets at Atlanta later. Pelfrey and Glavine in a good pitching matchup. And the line drives keep on coming. St. Louis singling the Nationals here in the 2nd inning, and it's 2-0 Cardinals.
Reminiscent of the inning that the Phillies had, where there weren't any extra base hits, just a lot of singles. These maybe hit a little bit more solidly, and I'll bet you that's that sinker that Matt Chico, remember last year, every now and then that closet cutter would bounce up where he's trying to go down and away, but some reason he would get the cutting action and end up getting more of the strike zone than he wanted.
Top of the order now, and Brian Barton. Chico made him look bad first time up.
See, I think this is, if you're a starting pitcher and you got, or any kind of pitcher, starter or reliever, and you get an inning like this going, you need to have in the back of your mind the words of Austin Kearns. We feel like we can turn the lineup over. We feel like we're going to score more runs, and your job right there is to keep this manageable. Cut down the big innings. If you as a starting pitcher on this ball club can avoid big innings, you're going to get wins.
And St. Louis not exactly wearing out the ball here, but they're doing a good job of putting it in play.
Well, you're getting to the situation, though, where they're going to run 3 guys up there who can wear out the ball,
right,
and get a bunch on the board with one swing. So it becomes damage control after that first run crosses the plate. Till then, I'd like to see every starting pitcher go out there wanting to pitch a no-hitter, then a shutout. Then you do whatever it takes to win the ball game.
In the air, short right center, Belliard out. The call by Millage, and that's it. St. Louis with 4 singles and a 2-0 lead.
Okay, I know we're going to have Toyota trivia here, Bob, but I wonder, is Josh going to get his back up, because we've been doing pretty well. So what is our?
We have been pretty hot. Matt Chico, where did he begin his collegiate career?
It's not Chico State University. I know that for a fact.
Now that's a good one.
And it's not Alabama, so.
Well,
ponder on it. The answer will pop up in a little while.
He went to 2 different schools, and most guys go to junior college before they go to Division I. But there are some who go Division I and for whatever reason end up in junior college, and I believe Matt was one of those.
I'm going to go Cal State Fullerton.
I'm going to say he was a Trojan.
No, get out of here. USC? Matt Chico, Matt Leinart, they're together.
Flores pulls it, first pitch gently over to Gloss. Sails on him. Pujols finds the bag. Albert Pujols won a Gold Glove 2 years ago, but when Derek Lee came back healthy last year, he got himself back in the Gold Glove category. Pujols had a few injury problems last year. Albert Pujols first came to the major leagues. He was a third baseman and left fielder. Here's Matt.
Another good hitting pitcher.
Yeah, he has 9 hits and 51 ABs. 3 career RBIs, 9/4/51 for that 176.
Already has a hit this year.
2-hopper. Cesar Izturis. And now the Nationals have gone 6 straight quickly since Zimmerman's ringing double to right center with 2 outs in the first. Top of the order now, Christian Guzman again. Other scores: Milwaukee has an early run hosting the Giants. Brewers and St. Louis tied atop the Central at 3-1. And over in the American League, they're dancing in the aisles of Yankee Stadium. The Rays did not score in the first or second inning after hammering New York last night. Yankees lead 1-0. Boston's at Toronto 1-1 in the second. Those are the games underway today, along with the ones we told you about earlier. The Cubs did pick up a run. Houston 2, Chicago 1, top 3 at Wrigley. 0-2. Guzman lays off that nasty breaking ball. That is nasty. Molina keeps it close, and for the second consecutive inning, or rather 2 out of 3, a swinging strikeout on a big breaking ball ends it for the Nats.
Nationals trailing by a score of 2-0 as we move to the bottom of the third inning. Now Matt Chico is making a change in his delivery with his high leg kick, and Manny Acta admits that it's challenging to do in a game.
I like the progress I've seen. He started in spring training, and it took a lot of guts for a guy like him, knowing that he didn't have a spot for sure in rotation, and he went out there and did that in the middle of spring training with no fear, and I like what I've seen so far.
And Randy St. Clair says it's simple. If Matt Chico can just throw strikes and stay ahead of the hitters, then he'll do okay. Something that he needs to do better today.
Well, he did it in the first inning. Struck out Barton, struck out Ankiel, got Pujols going the other way. But then the line drive and ground ball singles started coming, 4 of them, 2-0 St. Louis. Now, Don, you and I were chatting about Ankiel. It appears that he is a dead pull hitter who's going to pull off the ball on some breaking balls like he did when he struck out. We haven't seen him do anything to left field or even left center yet.
That would make him a middle in hitter, and if you're coming in, make it a setup pitch and get it off the plate.
Like that totally handcuffed him.
Perfect setup pitch there for Matt Chico's curveball. But you're thinking now, if you're the pitcher, look at the scoreboard. Scoreboard would dictate the pitches you throw most of the time. 0-2. Chance for a strikeout. Start the breaking ball in the strike zone, then throw it off the plate.
Ankiel has power in the number 2 spot, which is something La Russa likes. He used to do it in Oakland with Carney Lansford. He did it here with Larry Walker. And you might say Manny Acta has that same luxury now with Lastings Milledge, who has speed and power batting second. Not all managers feel that way, but some like a little pop right up at the top of the lineup if you have the personnel to work with. And Milledge is that kind of guy.
Yeah, and it's an extra bonus if he also brings speed to the ballpark with him. Throw it again a little closer.
2-2 to Ankiel. Leading off bottom 3. But they had a lineup here about 4 or 5 years ago. Walker second, Pujols third, Edmonds fourth, Roland fifth.
That's some heavy artillery the first time through the lineup, isn't it? Now you force yourself to make a perfect pitch when it's 3-2.
Breaking ball up. There he is, dead pull hitter. Kearns cannot cut it off.
I think Matt Chico followed a plan that is a good one there. I think the thing that he did to get him in a 3-2 count is try to make the 0-2 pitch, maybe not the 0-2 pitch, but the 1-2 pitch perfectly. So now you go to 3-2. If you're going to go breaking ball, you have to make it a strike. You don't want to walk him on a breaking ball. And when you make it a strike with a guy like him who's pulling off of it, that's the one he can handle. Probably the key pitch in that sequence was the 1-2 breaking ball.
Albert Pujols. Daylight play. Ankiel was back in plenty of time.
Daylight, you're looking for room right there between the shortstop and the base runner. It got there, but Ankiel pretty quick.
Well,
he's fast and he's quick.
And he didn't have much of a leadoff.
No. Even though there was daylight, he didn't have far to go. One of my favorite Norm Crosby-like ball players was Jim Gantner with the Milwaukee Brewers, and they were going over daylight plays. Robin Yount was a shortstop, and he said, I'm going to use the daylight play as a pickoff. Everybody said, that's great. Gantner said, me too. At second, there's nothing but daylight.
I thought maybe he was going to ask, what do we do for night games?
I'm sure that question came out of him too.
The Enkeel double, by the way, brings something back into focus about Matt Chico and his performance as a rookie. Left-handers hit him too well last year. Left-handers had a 273 average against Matt. Righties 283.
That's where the curveball becomes the equalizer, and he tried to use it in that at bat in those sequences to equalize it. A little bit closer, I think he would have gotten Enkeel out. But that's the pitch. His fastball is quicker, so he can make him inside conscious, but that curveball is going to be his equalizer against lefties.
Other thing about Matt as a rookie, he had a lot of long innings. His average pitches per inning, 16.9. You know, right at 17 pitches per inning, about 4 over the Don Sutton number for success. You like that unlucky number 13.
Yeah, I do.
As a ceiling for an inning, don't you?
If you go 10, 11, 12, 13, then you're being very efficient, and you're usually getting outs early in the count. Guy who's going to the Hall of Fame pitched more bat contact than most anybody in the league for the last 10 years. That's Greg Maddux. He always said he wanted to get his out on the second or third pitch. First is even better.
Pujols ripping at a low pitch on 3-0. Now last night in the first inning, right after the Enkeel homer, Odalis Perez went 3-0 on Albert, and he hit a double off the center field wall. Nationals kept him at bay for the rest of the night. Flight out to right, going the other way this time, starting off the game, and now it's 3-1 here in the third. First base open. He's there with nobody out. Troy Gloss, another one of those guys, if he can get a ground ball, he's a double play guy, slow of foot. But like Pat Burrell, who the Nationals just faced in Philly, primarily a fly ball hitter. First pitch, Kearns. He'll get himself in a throwing position here, and Keel is going. Strong throw late, and both runners move up. Austin with a strong throw, but not what you would call a great throw because nobody could cut it off.
Yeah, if that's down, and you know what? He's beating himself up right there because of that, too. A chance to throw out, and Keel, who has terrific speed. Perfect position to throw. And a very accurate throw, but took away the ability for them to cut down on Pujols. Perfect angle for Pujols, too. Remember, he's on the side. He could see the arc of the ball, so he didn't hesitate.
And they have an aggressive coach over there in Jose Oquendo, who was a very astute utility type player himself and known as one of the more aggressive third base coaches in the league. So he visits with Enkeel. Pujols at second. Ryan Ludwig lined out to Zimmerman first time up.
A lot of people have penciled Oquendo as a future manager in the big league.
Breaking ball, 1 strike.
Cardinals with 2 options as the infield is in almost all the way. Send him on contact, or kind of check out and see where the ball goes. With the lead, and you and I know Tony La Russa as a pretty aggressive manager. I would be surprised if Ankiel is going on contact, meaning anything that's hit on the ground, he's taking off.
Well, we saw him do it last night. And the runner was Yadier Molina, the slowest guy on the team.
Make a good pitch here, get the strikeout.
Good block by Jesus Flores. And the count goes even 2-2.
You want your out pitch to come here, because if you don't, then you pitch 3-2. Like there were 2 outs in the base open instead of 1 out, because you can't give in to him on 3-2.
Tailed it away from him for the strikeout. Matt Chico's 3rd K of the day, and a big one with Molina coming up and 2 outs now.
Looked like a changeup, and he got good movement on it. Good arm speed. Got him 3 ways that you can with a changeup. The arm speed sold the fastball. The changeup killed the speed on it, and he got that little tailing sinking action. The 4th one is location. If you get 3 out of 4, most people will tell you you have a good changeup.
Interesting situation here. Left-handed, right-handed matchup. And a left-handed batter on deck in Adam Kennedy. But as mentioned, early in his career, lefties have hit Matt Chico just about as well as right-handers.
I still think the prudent thing to do here is to make Molina go out of the strike zone to hit something and take your chances lefty against lefty.
Agreed.
Molina can gap you. He can hit it out. Kennedy is not very likely to hit the ball out of the ballpark, so it's another method of damage control. Make him chase something out of the strike zone.
That's going to score a couple of runs unless Kearns can get to it quick enough. He can't, and it's 4-0. That's just something that cannot happen when you have a guy on deck left-handed who hit .219 last year.
Well, you have 4 pitches to play with, and if they want to follow your lead out of the strike zone, you let them. Let's see where this pitch was. Now that's down Broadway.
Yeah.
I'll bet you that was that closet cutter again. It looked like that he was thinking down and away, sink it away from him, but the ball just sailed right back into the heart of the strike zone. That's a good pitch if you know when it's coming.
Here's Adam Kennedy, lined 1 to left first time. Lopez got a force play on Troy Gloss at third, taking a base hit away from Adam, who needs all the hits he can get after the nightmare he had here last year. He hit .219, and his career batting average is still .275. It probably dropped 8 or 9 points last year. Into right field. And the 3rd hit of the inning, and the Cardinals have had 7 hits now in the last 2 frames. And look out, here comes Adam Wainwright.
Matt Chico's having one of those days early on. In the first inning, everything was precise, right where he wanted it. If you define control as throwing strikes, he has good control. If you define control as locating the pitches in the strike zone, he's struggling now, because all of the pitches that have been hit this inning have been pitches that drifted back to the heart of the strike zone.
Wainwright hit the ball hard for an RBI up the middle first time, and he takes a healthy hack right there. 7 hits for St. Louis in less than 3 innings. St. Louis made a roster move today. They DL'd right-handed reliever Russ Springer, who the Nationals hit hard last night. They brought in a young righty, Kelvin Jimenez, to replace him, and Chad Cordero has been DL'd by the Nationals. John Lannon to start here tomorrow against Kyle Loesch, who we saw in Cincinnati last year.
So the Nationals right now are 2 players short today, because Dimitri had to go back, and now the bullpen is 1 short.
And then there's Willie Mo Pena. Then there's Elijah Dukes. It's been a rough first week. Swing and a foul tip on a pitch down and away. Manny liked this ball club coming out of spring training, but health issues have popped up, and we have to update our injury report from just last night. Johnny Estrada has started his rehab at AAA Columbus.
And Elijah Dukes is with the ball club working on. You know, I won't say good thing, but the depth of the bullpen allows you to pitch through and to work through it. Chad Cordero being gone for a couple of days. But I think the lineup itself could use some of those bats that we're talking about. The bench is a good one, but it would make it even stronger.
2-2. A couple of men aboard with 2 outs and a swing and a miss. Chico, kind of unusual, a 4-strikeout day, but he's been very hittable. 4-0 Cardinals.
Nationals trail at 4-0 as they come to bat here in the 4th inning. And welcome home, Nationals fan, to your brand new ballpark. Come make yourself at home as the Nationals entertain the Florida Marlins 7, 9, and 10. The 8th is an off day. And be sure to get there on the 10th, because the first 20,000 of you will get your own national schedule and Curly W magnets, all of that courtesy of Coca-Cola. More parking available, tickets available. Way to find out, go to nationals.com or 888-632-NATS. Welcome home. Come on down and we'll look for you. We'll leave the light on.
Lots of lights. On to the top of the 4th. Millage, Zimmerman, Johnson. 32 pitches for Wainwright, 20 strikes in his first 3 innings, including a 7-pitch top of the 3rd. He did what pitchers are supposed to do against the bottom of the order. He got Flores and Chico very quickly, then struck out Christian Guzman. Millage bounced out to second base first time up. The Nationals only have 1 hit. Ryan Zimmerman's 2-out double in the first. 7 straight by Wainwright since. And they have Kyle Loesch going tomorrow, who they picked up for about $4 million this year. A guy known as an innings eater, who will usually go a little over 500 for you in the win-loss column.
Isn't that somewhat of a misnomer, though? Because look at a lot of those innings eaters. They have earned run average of 4.5 to 5.
I think it makes a statement about pitching these days.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Livan Hernandez is like that.
Randy St. Clair, if you run him out there and leave him alone, could eat you innings. He might give up 8 or 10 runs, but if you just let him stay out there, he will eat you some innings.
Well, and I think if Kyle Loesch was better than that, he wouldn't have signed with somebody halfway through spring training. But that's who the Nationals will face tomorrow. Braden Looper threw pretty well last night. They also have Todd Wellemeyer on this staff. Joel Pinheiro is hurt, and what they're doing is they're piecing together things until they get Chris Carpenter back and Mark Mulder. It'll be a while for both of them, but you know, the Nationals are kind of piecing things together, not waiting for veteran stars to come back, but waiting for young studs to develop. And that's what the Nats have at AA and AAA right now, and even further down than that.
I heard Jim Bowden say that his starting staff at AAA might be the envy of a number of major league ball clubs now. Not next year, not September, but now. You know what happens when you get behind to Adam Wainwright? You kind of play right into his style of pitching. Tell you what I mean after this pitch.
Zimmerman pulls it hard. Fair ball right over the bag, beyond the reach of Troy Gloss, and Ryan Zimmerman has back-to-back doubles. One to right center, one down the line. He's now 4 for his last 5.
And in scoring position, and you need to get on the board. And what I was talking about Wainwright is looking back over his year last year, and he had a good year, an earned run average of 3.7 as you check out the replay there, but he only allowed 13 homers. he doesn't walk many people. So he doesn't give you the chance to play catch up with one swing of the bat. He forces you to piece together a lot of hits, and he doesn't issue free tickets so you can get some of those free runs. So getting behind on him, you know you're going to have to battle because he's not going to make it easy.
Nationals need somebody to pop one here. Tailing down and away from Nick Johnson. Nick 0 for 4 in the series with a pair of walks. But they just need some of that extra base hit stuff we saw in Philadelphia to start happening. You'd settle for a single here to get the Nats on the board, down by 4. First things first. Nick turns on one and fouls it, and Pujols was playing near the line, and the count's even 1-1.
Because he was a reliever so long, and because you don't see teams in the other division that often, 3 guys in the lineup are getting their first look at Wainwright. Nick Johnson is one of those guys.
Probably the first time today Wainwright lost his release point.
And if you throw 100 or 110 pitches, it's going to happen to you if you have a great day 20 times. If you get away with 15 of them, you're going to win the game.
Nick Johnson with a base hit up the middle. Zimmerman coming around third. Tim Tolman waves him home, and Nick Johnson with his 3rd RBI gets the Nationals on the board. Now a 4-1 game.
See, that's how you get back at Wainwright. You have a quality at bats, make him throw some strikes, try to get somebody on, put it in play. That was probably going to be the only pitch in that at bat that Nick Johnson was going to have to handle.
Did you see Zimmerman's head pop up halfway to third, picking up Tim Tolman? Make sure he got a good jump, and he looked up to catch the coach. Well, that coaching box has been quite a subject of discussion the last few days, hasn't it?
Yeah, we need to talk to Larry Bowa about it.
Now Kearns goes up the middle. Oh my goodness, what a play by Adam Kennedy. That was base hit labeled for center field, and Adam Kennedy, not that well known for range, made one of the best plays you'll ever see him make.
Well, when you see that play start, you think, darn it, he's going to smother it and nobody's going to get to third. I don't think it ever entered anybody's mind in the Nationals dugout that he was going to get to this, catch it, and on his back throw in time to get Nick Johnson. Okay, you figure there, okay, we got him at first and second.
Wow. I've watched Adam Kennedy for a lot of years and never seen that. Here's Belliard. Ronnie Belliard with a base hit. And the Nationals hitting the ball extremely hard on Wainwright here in the 4th inning.
Not only did it get an out, it saved 1 run and could have possibly saved more.
Yeah, might save a big inning. It would be 4-2, and you'd have a couple of men aboard here. Now it's Felipe Lopez's turn in the 4th inning.
See what Yadier Molina's doing? He's going out now. All he's doing is to bring the ball game back to the pace for his club. Wainwright getting in a hurry, working his tempo. He's a quick worker anyway, working his tempo up to the tempo of the offense. Molina, maybe on instructions from Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, go out, let's slow things down for a minute. Young pitchers have a tendency to do that. The quicker the hits come, the quicker they throw the ball to the plate.
Yeah, the more I listen to you, Don, over our time together, I'm really starting to learn that a lot of pitching is pacing and damage control.
Yeah. Well, you figure if you have a great year, if you're a starting pitcher and you have a great year and you make 33 starts, at the end of the year, how many shutouts are you going to have?
Probably none.
Yeah, none or one. So now the given is you're going to give up runs.
Yeah.
So you get that out of your head. Okay, so I might give up a run or two. What you try to avoid is giving up 5 in an inning and 4 in an inning. And if you're on a ball club that can score runs, the thought in the back of your mind, sure. Sandy Koufax used to say, I go out to pitch a perfect game every time. If I lose that, I go out to pitch a shutout. If I lose that, then I figure out what can I do to help this ball club win.
3-0 to Felipe. Jesus Flores on deck. Lopez struck out in a couple of key situations last night. In the 7th inning, stranding the bases loaded. In the 9th, stranding 2 with a tying run at second base. Now he should be taking here and then looking to rip on something he can drive. BP fastball in there, 3-1.
And I think if I were Jesus Flores, and I'm thinking ahead now, if Felipe Lopez gets on, I would look for a pitch to hit on the first pitch. First, you got to get Felipe Lopez on.
Up and away. Bases loaded. Wainwright's first walk. He was cruising until Zimmerman got that double. He'd retired 7 straight, and they were quick at bats.
Well, you have a control pitcher who has 2 outs and who has just walked a guy that is not playing every day. So I think you're thinking, his thinking right here is, I got to get strike 1. So for Flores, pick out a spot where you like the ball. If it's anywhere near it, expand your strike zone and have your best cut.
Breaking ball, low and away. Good take by the 23-year-old catcher, who hit 4 homers, drove in 25 last year in 42 starts.
And I think you have to be thinking now, if you're Flores, he's not going to back up a breaking ball with another breaking ball. So commit to the fastball, and if you're wrong, it costs you 1 pitch.
Oh, he did throw him a breaking ball, didn't he?
Okay, so you take it. It's a strike. You still got 2 more to play with. Little get over slider. That is such a good pitch. Johnny Sain used to say you can win at any level, anywhere, if you can throw a little breaking ball for a strike. It doesn't have to be a strikeout pitch, but a spinner you can throw for a strike.
That one tails low and inside, ball 2. Would Wainwright throw another breaking ball when he could push the count to 3-1 with the bases loaded?
If he does, it's not going to be the downer curveball. It will be the slider. So you really don't have to make that big of an adjustment. You can still look fastball.
He holds up, and it's ball 3.
And it was a little slider that he was just trying to spin in there.
Nationals had a run forced in on a Paul Loduca 7th inning walk last night, and Adam Wainwright having a hard time here in the 4th inning.
Unbutton your top button, look fastball, and air condition the ballpark.
3-1 pitch. Just caught the inside corner, moving in severely to the right-hander.
Now all bets are off. He's thrown the slider a number of different ways. That was a fastball, low middle in. Plenty of strike zone. Young player, I wouldn't be surprised. Flores, a young player, I wouldn't be surprised to see them go with a breaking ball.
3-2, bases loaded, and he pulls it right to Troy Glaus. The Nationals continue to not do the job with runners in scoring position. 3 men left.
Into 3.5 from Busch Stadium on a beautiful spring day here on the banks of the Mississippi River, and the Cardinals are up 4-1. Time for a look at our Firestone game summary. Matt Chico has had quite a few base runners. Adam Wainwright has helped himself with the bat, and his catching partner Yadier Molina has also driven in a few. 8 base runners for Matt Chico. Ryan Zimmerman swings the bat well today, but Ankiel, pitcher turned outfielder, continues his good hitting. And as the Cardinals come to bat in the bottom of the 4th inning, they find themselves up by 3.
Matt Chico, 58 pitches, 36 strikes through 3 innings. Cesar Izturis. This is what La Russa talks about with the pitcher hitting 8th now that Wainwright's gone. Almost like having two leadoff guys and then Ankiel ahead of Pujols. Turris is suddenly coming alive with the bat.
Good swings last night.
Yeah, a double and a single. Now he has an RBI single today. So he's 3 for 12. And Matt misses low.
Last couple of years, the Cardinals have filled out their roster with players that started in other organizations. Today's lineup, interesting in that Ankiel and Pujols are original Cardinals. The third one is Kennedy, who had to take a trip cross country to get back here. But lately, that's the way it's been with a lot of the clubs in the Central Division. People from other organizations, free agents and trades, are making up the bulk of their roster, with the exception of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Homegrown Milwaukee Brewers. That's a leadoff man you do not want to walk. Matt Chico with the second pass of the day. The other one was Pujols. And now the top of the order for Brian Barton. Where did Matt Chico begin his collegiate career? In the state of California.
And you said he was in Cardinal and goal, USC Trojans. Survey said USC, 13 starts as a freshman.
He also then saw some time at Palomar Community College, Fallbrook, California High School. Matt was born in Fullerton. And of course, obtained with Garrett Mock in the Levon Hernandez deal August 7th of 06.
Community colleges, what we used to, and they still in a number of places, call junior colleges. You get your associate degree there. You don't get a bachelor's degree.
Nobody wants to be called junior anymore, so they went to community. And it's like a lot of colleges don't want to be called college anymore.
They want to be universities.
All right, let's talk high leg kick. Matt Chico's, not Debbie Taylor's. Debbie?
Well, Bob, it's interesting. The idea for the high leg kick actually came from Garrett Mock. He told Randy St. Clair, you should have seen Matt when he was younger. He had this really high leg kick. Well, Randy in turn tried to get some video from the Diamondbacks. They weren't about to give it up. So Garrett showed Randy on the internet a website that had a shot of Matt's high leg kick. And then the Nationals actually went through their archives from the amateur draft and were able to find more video. So that's how it all got started.
Interesting story. I didn't know there was a legkicks.com that pitching coaches could go to. Thank you, Debbie. That's a nice report, and Garrett Mock helping out.
It's usually, though, found under the Radio City Rockettes.
0-2 to Barton. Tough couple of guys to double up here.
Well, Matt Chico struggled with two problems last year. One of them, remember, the stride had gotten lengthened, and he was throwing across his body. It's amazing how hard he and Randy St. Clair worked on shortening his stride and not throwing across his body, squaring up more. But with the high leg kick, that solved both of those problems. The stride is shorter, and he has a square delivery. So that's another example of how in sports and so many other things, we end up trying to treat the symptoms, and we never get around to the cure. High leg kick, that stride's probably about 8-10 inches shorter than what he was doing with the lower leg kick.
0-2 to Barton. And Don and I talked Monday about the effect of the high leg kick, if any, on your approach to hitters with men on base or your pickoff move. We We addressed the slide step issue. What about pickoffs?
Well, just go ahead and use your high leg kick and pause for a second up there and go ahead and go to first on it. You can throw to first off the high leg kick.
They've got his tourist picked off. It'll go 1-3-6.
I appreciate our producer, Chip, talking to Matt Chico before the game about what we were going to talk about up here and having Matt in on the script. There's the high leg kick, but he hesitated just a little bit. And the base runner is going on first move. Up. He's going step to first. So you can still make a pickoff throw to first from a high leg kick.
Now it's 1-2 to Barton, who fouls it back. Tony La Russa, the count was 1-2 there. He does not mind at all sending his base runners on a count like that because he figures the hitter is going to get something that he might be able to put in play as the pitcher tries to put him away. And as Torres, of course, you don't do that with everybody, but he is a shortstop who runs well. Nats got him, and now Barton hits it out to right center, and that's trouble. So the pickoff is going to cost St. Louis a run because they would have scored on this triple. And that kid has 3 hits in this series against the Nationals in his major league debut week.
Another one of the pitches I think we've been talking about from Matt Chico. That's a strike, but not what you would call a quality strike. It's a curveball that did not get down, and it didn't get in, and it wasn't off the corner. And it allowed Barton to have a good swing at it, not try to guide it anywhere. Barton may have to go to a little bit bigger helmet.
Here's Ankiel.
Or a chin strap.
Rick Ankiel has had a hand in 3 runs in this series, driving in 2 last night, doubling today to lead off the 3rd and then scoring. Well, this would be especially frustrating to give up more runs right after the Nationals got on the board and missed a chance to score more. 4-1 as it stands right now.
Ankiel just chased one of those curveballs. Now, I think he'd probably think if he throws that again, I'm not going to go fishing. So now's a good time to throw one of them for a strikeout away from him, then go right back with another one. You're not really in a situation here where you have the freedom to nibble and to set up pitches. I think if you find a weakness, you got to exploit it. There was the one for a strike, but he did swing at it.
Infield in case there is a pitch away, and Ankiel rolls it over and hits a ground ball to Belliard. Way outside, no chance for that. Now you've got Pujols on deck. Don't want to walk the man in front of him. Still only 1 out here in the 4th.
But you still don't want to just lay it in there. Throw that curveball on the outer part. Get him to chase.
He does. Rolled it over. It goes foul.
Repeat the pitch. That's not a damaging swing by Ankiel. If you're in the infield too, you've already seen the speed of Barton at third, so you got to make sure you get to the ball quickly and make a quick and accurate throw to the plate, because you know he's coming.
Fastball up and away for the strikeout. That's the thing about Ankiel. He's up there trying to pull everything, and the Nationals exploit that for Matt Chico's 5th strikeout of the day.
I give Jesus Flores a pat on the back for calling that. Chico did not shake him off, and after putting him on a breaking ball diet, you mentioned before Ankiel being a pull hitter, seat of his pants was headed down the first baseline.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a whole lot left in the strike zone to do any damage with that. That was a good call on a good pitch.
And the numbers would indicate that Ankiel is a little bit of a sensation here early in his major league hitting career. But as time goes on, if he doesn't start staying on the ball and going the other way, a lot of clubs will exploit him. Here's Pujols, a fly ball to right, a walk, and a run scored.
Take our first look at our Toyota League leaders. 100 RBI seasons. Bob talked about this last night. Albert Pujols in some HOF company there.
Yes, he is. Fast as ever to 250 home runs at the start of a career. Ralph Kiner was the previous. And he got there faster than Jimmy Fox, Alex Rodriguez, Eddie Matthews, and Mel Ott. I mean, when you're a young player and your name's in the same sentence with guys like the ones we're talking about, he beat Willie Mays to 1,000 hits and 200 home runs. In the air to right. And Matt Chico battles out of a tough one here in the bottom of the fourth. Little momentum shift, maybe. He's due to lead off in the fifth. Nationals baseball on MASN, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With Southwest, you're now free to be more productive. Visit southwest.com today. And by Corona and Corona Light, official sponsors of the Timeout. Relax responsibly.
4 runs, 8 hits for the Cardinals. A run on 4 hits for Washington. Bottom side of the batting order, Matt Chico to lead it off. First time up, rolled it to short. Nationals have stranded 4. The Cardinals, though, have been busy on the base pass 2. They have left 5. Guzman in the on-deck circle. And a strike in to Matt Chico. Chico, one of those guys, when you talk to the regulars about him, and I was talking to Austin Kearns and Ryan Zimmerman, and there's a term you hear in baseball, maybe we don't use it in everyday conversation outside, but as soon as we were talking about Chico, Austin Kearns' eyebrows came up and said he can rake too. That's a compliment, especially given to a pitcher. You know, everyday players don't throw around compliments to pitchers about hitting very often.
Breaking ball, locked him up, strikes him out. 5th inning underway. 3 strikeouts for Adam Wainwright, and we'll see how his day goes now as he gets back up to the top of the order. The bottom 3 hitters 0 for 5 with a walk. Some damage from the middle thanks to Zimmerman and Johnson. But Adam Wainwright also has Guzman and Millage 0 for 4. So he has not really allowed the national table setters to get on.
And he's very seldom fallen behind in the count.
Guzman, ground ball, strikeout. 3 strikeouts in 27 at bats to start the season for Christian, who hit his 46th career home run here last night.
He can pull, and it's usually on a pitch up, and it's usually from the left side. He can cut and slash and hit the ball over the shortstop and over the second baseman, but if he goes up looking for a pitch that he gets, he can hit it out with anybody.
And Wainwright had him reaching. That'll be easy. The ultimate entertainment experience coming to all-new Nationals Park Saturday the 12th. Part of that series when the Braves are in. The first 20,000 fans get their own Nats car flag, courtesy of Geico. Go to nationals.com or call 888-632-NATS for ticket information. That is 1 week from today. Sure will be nice to get home and further enjoy our new ballpark.
A lot of fine-tuning been going on since we left.
Top of the order now, it's Millage after Guzman was retired. But Don, the thing you don't want to happen, you don't want to get swept this weekend, and then all that goodwill from the 3-1 start kind of goes by the boards a little bit with a 4-game losing streak. It's very important for the Nationals to at least win one of these last 2 games here, and if you want to win both, but at least come home with a winning record. That would really be nice the first full week. And this team has not been out of a game yet this year. The 2 losses have been very close, winnable games. So you take heart in that your team's battling all the time.
Well, I think Austin Kern summed it up. We're not about 500. We're not about any one-loss record. We're about winning. And he has not anointed himself as a spokesman for the ball club, but when you're around them and you talk to the players, the core of the ball club, that's what they're about. They're about winning.
You'd love to see Millage aboard here, the way Zimmerman is suddenly swinging the bat. Inside, ball 3 after Millage just hit his name on the scoreboard down the left field line. He hit that ball extremely hard out ahead of it. Kearns thinks he might bat this inning, putting the helmet on. I hope he's right. Millage pulls it, foul again. Ryan Zimmerman, a pair of doubles today. He now has 4 extra base hits this season. A couple of 2-baggers and 2 home runs. That is fair. Beyond the reach of Troy Gloss. And Millage will go to second base. So the Nats are collecting some extra base hits.
I think you could go all year and not see as many over the bag calls that we've had third base umpires have to work hard on making as we've already seen this week. It seems like once a game there's one coming over the bag. Remember, all it has to do is pass that bag in fair territory. They're coming in on him, and that ball definitely did. Jim Wolf right there with his nose right down the line.
You know, it's interesting. I've heard some announcers refer to third base after you've worked the plate as the old rocking chair down there. I beg to differ.
This week especially. Busy time. And a lot of those plays where we've seen the umpires start and then hesitate and then get it right.
Such as the last at bat by Zimmerman that was a double over the bag. Ryan could bat the Nats back into this game. Big sharp curveball that he took low. The fact that Ryan didn't even offer that ball indicates to me that he is seeing the ball very well today. A little right pinky lifted off that bat for a moment when he takes his grip. They wanted to jam him. It was out over the plate, and he fouls it upstairs. Molina, he's not going to miss that. And Zimmerman is really angry. They wanted that pitch inside. They put it over the plate, and Ryan couldn't do anything with it. Gentle breezes blowing in downtown St. Louis, Missouri. We go bottom of the 5th. Matt Chico, 81 pitches, 49 strikes. And like some of the other Nats hurlers, we asked him about his thoughts on this season.
My goal, is to make every start again, and just try to be, a better pitcher than I was last year. I know I had quite a bit of walks, and that's one thing I'm really going to try to work on this year is trying to get my walks down.
Admirable goals. Make every start be better than last year and make them put the ball in play. Those are very admirable goals.
74 walks in 167 innings with 94 strikeouts. But Don, I thought it was very important what he said right from the get-go. I want to make every start like I did last year. The Nationals handed him the ball 31 times. Nobody on the staff more. Troy Gloss 1 for 2 today. 3 for 16 in his early days as a Cardinal.
I think if you're a starter on this ball club, your objectives, your demeanor, what you hope to accomplish has to mirror what your 8 other guys want. And I think Austin Kearns kind of established that for us. We just want to win. So I think when somebody asks you, what do you want to do? I want to give us an opportunity to win, because these guys have already told you we're going to catch everything we can get to, and we are going to put runs on the board. So as a starting pitcher, I think you listen to what they're telling you. You want to be the man in the middle of the diamond that they want to play behind. That's what you want to do.
Like they did Tim Redding the other day. He gave them plenty of action in doing his job. 2-2.
I heard one of the players, after listening to Cole Hamels, ask what he hoped to accomplish. I want to pitch a perfect game. I want to win 20 games. You know, he just said, bing, bing, bing. This is what I want to do. That's his personality. All have different personalities. But you know, I overheard a couple of guys reading that, and they said, bet those guys like playing behind him. So if you're the pitcher, know what your 8 other guys want. They're your lifesavers. They're the guys going to get you runs. They're the guys going to catch the ball. Give them reasons to want to be there when you're there.
Right at the shortstop, Christian Guzman on target to Nick for the first out. Bottom of the 5th underway. Now, if you come to Nationals Park, you see cranes everywhere. A couple of $1 billion of development will take place just north of our ballpark. That hole in the ground over there has been there for 3 years since old Busch Stadium came down. By now, it was supposed to be, at least under construction, a ballpark village. The contractor pulled out. A large healthcare company that was supposed to headquarter there pulled out just this week. And St. Louis faces the rather embarrassing prospect of hosting the All-Star game next year, and no development out there with the so-called ballpark village. And that was part of the reason the owners of the Cardinals were able to sell to the public and to the state of Missouri the building of this new ballpark, because it would spur downtown development. So far, it's been a called third strike. So they've got some work to do out there. And
so it's appropriate that an E2 would be out there somewhere. Huh? Well, what was the ballpark village supposed to?
Condo.
This is my first time here, so I'm
shops and restaurants and condos and maybe some lofts for people. You know, downtown lofts are now popular apartment, trendy type things, and
trying to do what we saw in Lodo and Denver.
Exactly.
San Francisco. It happened there around.
And we saw it in San Diego with their new ballpark. I remember last year we went out there and I said, if you build it, cranes will come. It's happening in Washington. Zimmerman takes that one off the ground on the bat of Ryan Ludwig for the second out. The St. Louis organization is really odd these days. That's the old Pet Milk world headquarters that's now trying to lease for apartments. I had a chat with a former St. Louis player today who said that many former players have offered their services to the Cardinals, you know, for scouting of players, helping to identify talent, to go look at players, and they have been ignored because this organization now is taking, to a certain extent, the Moneyball approach, and it's all about numbers and crunching batting averages and all that. That's John Mozeliak, the Cardinals' new general manager, who was Walt Jocketty's assistant. But Jeff Luhnow is the other half of the baseball operation, and he's a numbers crunching guy. And some of the ex-players here are disgusted because they feel the Cardinals are not focusing on baseball anymore. It's all about numbers. And I don't think that's a case with our organization, Don, with Bob Boone and Moose Stubing, who was added this year, and other guys. Our guys are still considering baseball first. The numbers come later.
Well, you can't ignore the numbers. You can't depend completely on gut feelings and instincts, and you can't depend on numbers. It seems to me that the successful ball clubs have a computer department that analyzes, but somewhere there's that scout with the eye who knows what a good fastball looks like, who knows what power looks like, who can see speed. Then you take a look. Oh, yeah, he had good numbers. But I think to be successful, you have to be able to blend it, and that all comes right down to the guys at the top.
Felipe playing well off the line, and a line out to Felipe Lopez off the bat of Molina to the 6th. 4-1 St. Louis.
Gateway to the west right here outside of the Cardinals' new ballpark, and a 4-1 lead for the Cardinals heading to the 6th inning. Welcome home, Nats fans. The inaugural season in the all-new Nationals ballpark is here. Even though the season is already underway, you can still get some great prorated season ticket plans. Tickets as low as $10 a game. Trust me, there's a plan for everybody. Just come on out and see what everybody else is talking about and what photographs so well early in the season. Make the play, buy yours today. And the way you can do it, we always encourage you to go to nationals.com or pick up your phone and dial 202-675-6287.
And those were windows from the Gateway Arch you saw.
Good swing.
Nick Johnson 2 for 3 right up the middle, just like he did last time. So the Nats bats are coming alive a little bit here in the middle of the game against Adam Wainwright. The Nationals now have 5 hits in just over the last 2 innings.
Looking for something to handle on the first pitch. Got it, and right back up the middle. Now here's where I think you resist the temptation, if you're Kearns, if you're Belliard, to try to get them all back with one swing of the bat. This guy is going to throw strikes, so take one. If you can get out of that, get another one, take 2. But don't try to get them all back with the one swing. He doesn't give up many homers.
Wainwright last year 13 homers in 202 innings. Your point's well taken. Austin identifies that breaking ball, lays off, count even, 1-1. Jesus Colome. Matt Chico's at 96 pitches through 5 innings. Kearns pops it up. Molina out until somebody calls him off. Gloss did for a moment. Molina stayed with it, catching the fair ball.
The one guy there that has to make sure that nobody runs together is Adam Wainwright. You can't be a spectator. You become a traffic cop. You've got nothing else to do when that ball goes up in the air, and you make sure one person has a shot at it, even if you have to tackle somebody 6'5", 240 pounds. I can see him yelling, but I'm not sure. I'd like to see a pitcher on that over close enough that he can yank somebody away or grab them if need be.
Yeah, and you'd like to see an infielder catch that ball rather than a catcher.
Better angle.
They're facing home plate as they start. Ronnie Belliard singled to left center his last time up. Right now, the play of this game was Adam Kennedy's on the drive up the middle last time by Kearns, preventing the Nationals from scoring at least another run or 2 in the 4th inning, and that's a double play ball. We go to the bottom of the 6th. The Nationals have 6 hits, but only 1 run, down by 3.
Still 4-1. Bob made mention of the great play by Kennedy, and let's make it our Morgan Franklin pivotal play. It came in the 4th inning, a chance for the Nationals to get something going. Not only did he catch the ball, saving a base hit, stopping the runner from advancing, but he got to put out at second of Nick Johnson. Terrific play. Get ready. You'll see that in the highlights for a week or 2 to come, and he's leading it off, and that's our Morgan Franklin pivotal play.
Adam Kennedy was traded from the Cardinals, who drafted him with Kent Bottenfield, to the Angels for Jim Edmonds in March of 2000, right toward the end of spring training. They signed Edmonds to an 8-year contract immediately. He's now in San Diego, and Adam Kennedy's back for his 2nd year. He's out of Cal State Northridge, where he was a 3-time All-American with a .441 career batting average. Matt Chico 2 pitches away from 100 here, bottom of the 6th. Two runs on 4 hits in the 2nd, 2 on 3 hits in the 3rd. And Jesus Colome ready when Manny Acton needs him. And a bouncer out to short. Guzman gobbles it up. The Nationals knock on Formica, or whatever it is, right in front of us here. Still only 1 error as they play their 6th game of the year.
And believe me, that's noticed by the regulars that play, and it's something they take great pride in. They say, make them put it in play, we'll catch the ball.
Wainwright 1 for 2 with an RBI single. Goes up swinging, backing up the Sutton theory of how to hit when you have the lead. Get up, get out.
Get your fanny back on the bench. Because he's reached that stage, another Sutton theory, when you get to 9 outs, you start crossing them out. He's reached that stage where he starts thinking about crossing off outs.
He's thrown 78 pitches through 6, so he's going to be around in this game for a while. He only threw 6 pitches last inning. He's had a 7 and a 6 pitch inning today. Cesar Izturis in the number 9 hole for St. Louis. Matt Chico trying to finish with a flourish here. He could retire his last 8 batters.
And that would be something positive to build on. It would also keep this a manageable deficit for the ball club. You know, he could take the way he's thrown to the last 7 or 8 batters into his next start and feel good about it.
One and 2. Phillies and the Reds are tied 2-2 in the bottom of the 7th at Cincinnati. Other National League East clubs, Mets at Atlanta later. Pelfrey and Glavine. Eaton for the Phillies started in that Cincinnati game, and the Marlins throw their opening day starter Mark Hendrickson tonight, hosting the Pirates. Right now in the division, Nats are 3-2, the Mets 2-1, Marlins, Phillies 2-2, Braves 1-3. Matt Chico worked around a triple and a walk in the 4th. Got Ankiel and Pujols in order in the 5th, and trying to do the same here in the 6th inning. Nationals will hit for him when Lopez, Flores, and a pinch hitter come up in the top of the 7th. He just challenged him right there. Ronnie Belliard has it, and Matt Chico will retire his final 8 batters. To the 7th, Nationals need some offense, down 4-1. Nationals baseball on MASN, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With Southwest, you're now free to be more productive. Visit southwest.com today. And by Nissan, the all-new 2009 Nissan Murano. Dan Musial's statue and those girders up above there, a model of the Eads Bridge here in St. Louis, the first bridge that ever spanned the mighty Mississippi. Right, a telecast presented by authority of the Washington Nationals may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Washington Nationals. Top 7, Felipe Lopez, and a little flare to right. It'll drop in front of Ryan Ludwig. Felipe Lopez on base for the 2nd time today. So you might say the St. Louis ballpark has a bridge, and the Nationals ballpark has cherry blossoms. Skip Schumacher, we haven't seen him in this series yet because the Nationals have started 2 left-handed pitchers. And another one, John Lannon, tomorrow. So the Nationals keep getting base runners, just lacking that big hit on several occasions last night and today, and Flores will lay off of that for ball 1. Rob Makoviak is on deck. Nationals 2 left-handed bats, Makoviak and Willie Harris. Aaron Boone, Paul Loduca from the right side. Dimitri Young is back in D.C. Flores gets jammed and pops it up.
Tough sun field right now over there for Glaus.
Rob Makoviak will pinch hit here with 1 out in the 7th. Matt Chico, 4 runs in 6 innings with 8 hits, a couple of walks and 5 strikeouts. I'll give you his pitch count here in a moment. After Makoviak tomahawks one down into the corner. That is a foul ball. Tough break.
Yeah, that would have gotten Felipe Lopez to the plate. But haven't we heard so many times from guys who are good at pinch hitting? That's their philosophy. Look for something to hack right away.
Machico, 108 pitches, 66 strikes. And he retired the last 8 men he faced. National pinch hitters are 2 for 8 early in the season. Well, that's a better start than last year. What was it? Seemed like it was May before the Nationals got a pinch hit. Nobody could buy one.
0 for 23. Sure, wow. Exaggerating slightly, but it was a long time.
Breaking ball in the dirt. Molina. And Yadier Molina, since the 2005 season, has picked off 18 runners.
I just find it a little unusual, though, and we all have a different philosophy. You're up by 3, and you got a guy at first base, sure, who can steal, but he's not going to run down by 3 and got it out. I'm a little surprised they're not worrying more about Makoviak and less about Felipe Lopez.
Rob Makoviak, signed by the Nationals as a pinch hitter, late defensive replacement, 31 years of age, 262 career batting average with the Pirates, White Sox, Padres, and now the Nats. 0 for 2 with Washington. And evidently the Nationals signed Ricky Henderson, who's now on first base, as the Cardinals obsess over him, up by 3.
Give you one more reason I feel like that it's unusual to see them worrying so much about Felipe Lopez. Yadier Molina, sometimes with no help at all, throws out 50% of the base runners.
Yeah. You almost want him to run.
Yeah. Focus on the hitter and say, you want to run? Go ahead.
Yeah, we dare you.
Take off.
Big hole over there. Look at this.
It was his best move, too. That was his good move, his quick near balk move. But like I say, we all have different philosophies, and in certain situations, things become more important to some people than it is to others.
Two-two. Breaking ball. Struck him out. 2 outs. Adam Wainwright with his 4th strikeout of the day.
Certainly didn't hurt his concentration on the curveball. Over the top, downer.
Wow.
See, when it's that good, you throw it in the middle of the strike zone. It's not going to end up there anyway, if it has the good break on it. That's perfect downer curveball.
Top of the order for Christian Guzman, who's had a tough day, 0 for 3. 1 for 8 in the series with last night's 7th inning home run.
If you are going to run, what you've already seen from Wainwright, though, is he only throws over once. So you know right now on this pitch, based on what he's done to this point, he's going to make a pitch. He's not going to throw to first. Oh, he did. That's when you get picked off, isn't it?
Evidently, the more pickoff moves, the better that curveball is.
Well, you know, Jerry Morales has been watching that, and he's checking tendencies and times. But the last thing they told Felipe Lopez probably, or they're thinking, is don't get picked off. You know, we're down by 3. Don't get picked off.
Yeah.
1 base at a time, 1 run at a time.
Yeah, and you got a cross between Pudge Rodriguez and Johnny Bench behind the plate.
3-way cross. Pudge Rodriguez, Johnny Bench, and a howitzer.
2-0 now. Top of the 7th inning. 57 degrees at game time today. And we've crept up into the low 60s. Folks in the shade are kind of cool, but those in the sun basking in it on the first real nice weather day we've seen in the season. Do players like day baseball? Or are they not used to it anymore?
No, I think players do like day baseball. I'm not sure they would want a steady diet of it. I don't think they would want 80 games a year. But I think at the time it's played, you really don't have to. Players come to the ballpark early anyway.
They do now, yeah.
Yeah, they're coming to the ballpark at noon for a 7 o'clock game. So I think you have time to get up and get out of the hotel. I'll bet you the bulk of the players were here at 9 o'clock this morning. So day baseball, then after it's over, you have time to find a nice place and have a nice dinner, and you're back at the hotel at an early hour. So I think most of the people I talk to enjoy day baseball.
Guzman to center, and Keel waiting. And the Nationals have stranded 6 base runners today. 7th inning stretch time in St. Louis. Cardinals 4, Nationals 1. Beautiful baseball day. Don't like the looks of the scoreboard right now a whole lot. The Nationals are down to their final 6 outs with which to work. And into the bullpen, as Matt Chico did find a way to get his ball club through 6 innings today.
And give them a chance to win. You know, I think we talked about this and made the phrase before, used the phrase before, you could either place blame or give credit. And a lot of people want to maybe place blame on the situation with the hitting the way it is. But I think you got to give credit. There are games when you get pitches to hit and you don't drive runs in. That's when you feel bad. But Adam Wainwright hasn't made a whole lot of mistakes today.
Yeah.
When he's needed to come up with a good pitch, he's done it. And that's exactly what Matt Chico did the last 3 innings he was out there to keep this a game that you can catch up in.
This is Skip Schumacher batting in the leadoff spot. 28-year-old outfielder from Torrance, California. Organization guy. St. Louis drafted him in the 5th round 7 years ago. Part-time in the big league since. They liked his .382 on base average last year, and against right-handed pitchers he will start in left field, but the Nats throwing 3 lefties in this weekend series. Another college kid out of California who went to UC Santa Barbara. Colome low and inside, 2 balls 1 strike. Jesus with his 3rd appearance. The most recent, the control problems in Philadelphia on Thursday.
Did he most of the year last year work out the stretch when he came in? I don't remember his going from the windup. But then again, I don't remember where my car keys are, so temper that thought with that.
Yeah, Colome hasn't been a starter since the year 2000 in the minor leagues, and very unusual. He works right from the first base side of that pitching rubber. And he now has walked the last 4 hitters he has faced.
Here's what you were talking about. Way to the far side, a little quarter turn. Mechanically very sound, loads up on the backside. It's a simple delivery. Two of those walks intentional in Philadelphia, but the big one, the bases loaded walk, cost him the game.
Left-handers hit him well last year, 311. Right-handers, different story, 218.
He went to the quick move that time from the stretch. A little slide step, didn't kick his leg up high.
Rick Ankiel, a double in 3 trips today. 2 for 7 in the series with last night's 2-run homer. Going to be really interesting to look at the stat sheet around Labor Day and see where he is with a full season in the big leagues as a position player.
I think he's going to strike out a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him hit 24, 28 homers.
Yeah.
Because you've got protection behind him.
Yeah, Mr. Pujols, not a bad guy to have in the hole.
And Troy Glaus behind Pujols. So I think he's going to get some pitches to hit. But he might hit a whole lot of solo homers.
0-2. Colome had him reaching, and he put that breaking ball just out of his reach. So Ankiel, according to what Don said, 1 double, 3 strikeouts today.
I wonder if this wasn't a pitch that didn't turn out the way Jesus Colome wanted it. It looked like he wanted a backdoor slider. What he ended up with was a backup slider. Got up on top of it with a spin that was almost like a screwball from a right-hander. Every pitcher I've ever talked to who throws a backup slider and gets an out with it said the bad thing about that pitch is you don't know when it's going to show up. You'd like to be able to dial it up every time you want to.
Albert Pujols next, 0 for 2 with a walk. We don't associate screwballs with right-handers. Did Mike Marshall do that?
Yes, he did. He had a true screwball. Mike got so far up on top of it with his right hand that he would come over the top of the ball. He ended up with a curveball action on a screwball, not a fadeaway that would drift away from left-handed hitters, but it would break down like a curveball.
And Mike Marshall is still active in baseball, works with a lot of young pitchers, and he claims that he has a formula with the pitching motion that would eliminate all the shoulder and elbow injuries pitchers are having right now. But he's having a hard time getting anybody to listen because it's hard to take people out of what they've learned to do and what they've been trained to do for so many years in changing your total pitching motion.
I know he had a lot of unconventional ideas, but a lot of them made sense. Remember, he used to talk about throwing every day, and that was that was pushad. Throwing every day. Huh. Now so many organizations want their pitchers to throw some every day.
Yeah. Two balls and a strike to Pujols, who hits into a lot of double plays because he hits the ball so hard on the ground when he doesn't lift it. 3-1.
Mike might be one of those guys, and I enjoyed my time with Mike Marshall and learned a lot from him. He may be one of those guys because, let's face it, he was unconventional and rubbed some people the wrong way. He may be one of those guys where the product is right and the marketing's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Albert Pujols, 27 double play balls last year, the most in the National League by any hitter. Right on the corner, 3-2. 332 career batting average after his first 7 years in the major leagues. Oh, by the way, he was drafted in the 13th round. 401 players taken before him. Runner goes. Would have been a double play ball. With the runner going, Zimmerman settles for the play at first. 2 outs. Troy Glaus will be next. Mike Piazza and Albert Pujols might be the lowest draft choices to ever have plaques in Cooperstown. And Piazza like 600 something.
What was he in the 62nd round and only as a favor then?
Yeah, to his dad by Tommy Lasorda. Mike Piazza, one of those guys unable to find a place to play this year.
A number of big names out there without places to play.
The biggest, of course, is Bonds. Troy Gloss, base hit in the second. 1 for 3. Nationals have some guns coming up in the 8th, by the way. 2, 3, and 4. Good swing by Gloss. Austin Kearns right at him. Who are those guys? Number 2 is the birthday boy, Lastings Milledge. Ryan Zimmerman 2 for 3, pair of doubles. Nick Johnson 2 for 3, pair of singles.
Running out of 8s and trailing, running out of outs and trailing by 3 in the 8th inning. We'll be wrapping up the road trip tomorrow. John Lannon back with the ball club. 2-2 last year for John. Left-hander, a lot of people said he's going to be with his ball club before very long, and here he is. He'll be going against Kyle Loesch. Loesch split the year with Cincinnati and Philadelphia. Our coverage begins at 1:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And that's extra. Johnny Holiday, Ray Knight will be standing by. Another way you can gain maximum access to the Nationals all season long on Massa.
Looking forward to watching the young man from Long Beach, New York, throw tomorrow. 6'4", 225, 23-year-old John Lannon. Also 23 years of age, Lastings Milledge. Adam Wainwright just threw his 92nd pitch of the day. Milledge doubled last time up. And Debbie Taylor, we're looking forward to seeing John after a very interesting major league debut last year.
That's right, Bob. And he was scheduled to pitch tomorrow for Columbus. He did throw in a simulated game on April 1st. He said that his experience from last year is definitely going to help him this season. And the main thing he wants to do is stay calm and keep his composure. And that's something that we saw him do well last season.
2-2 in 6 starts. Just over 5 innings per start. Control an issue, 10 strikeouts, 17 walks. To be expected from a young pitcher. Righties and lefties both hit him .273. Milledge stays with that breaking ball and taps it foul.
One of the things John Lannon has going for him tomorrow, if he wants to stay calm, is a very calm, cool, collected, easygoing home plate umpire. That'll be Jerry Lane with the gear on tomorrow.
Is that right? Calm, cool, collected.
Jerry is so good. Good umpire. He always keeps the game in control.
Milledge went upstairs and chopped it to Troy Gloss. Bats have gone silent now. It'll be Zimmerman and Johnson. The next 2 guys are 4 for 6 today. That's left-hander Randy Flores, who, like Matt Chico as a lefty, pitched at USC. Zimmerman, 2 doubles in 3 trips. Nick Johnson, 2 singles in 3 trips. The Nationals aren't out of this thing yet, but they're down to their final 5 outs. Adam Wainwright in his career 1 complete game. One of his 32 starts last year, he went the distance. 26 years of age. Cardinals are on to something for a lot of years with this guy. Actually, Ray King came from Atlanta with him, along with Jason Marquis, in that deal for J.D. Drew and a utility man, Eli Marrero. That's how much the Braves thought they were getting with J.D. Drew. They traded away a really good reliever, a stubborn but talented starter in Marquis, and their best pitching prospect in Wainwright. Zimmerman right off the top of his bat. Wainwright from Pujols.
Check out our Geico highlights. Ryan Zimmerman has been in the middle of them. A couple of doubles for Ryan Zimmerman. The first one with 2 outs in the first inning. He would score the only run of the game. That coming in the 4th inning. A 1-out double would ride home on Nick Johnson's single. So Ryan Zimmerman's bat heating up and some extra base hits jumping off of it.
Nick Johnson base hits up the middle his last 2 times. If Adam Wainwright goes on to win this game, you might open up the paper tomorrow and you will read that he scattered 7 hits. The Nationals got 3 in 1 inning, but the other 4 have come few and far between. Usually a pitcher who scatters hits never gave up the big inning.
Well, if he can complete this inning 1, 2, 3, it'll be the only the 3rd inning that he's had a 1, 2, 3 inning. So he's worked out of the stretch a lot. Scattered would be an appropriate term.
One of those baseball exclusive terms. I've never heard of a quarterback scattering 14 passes. Nick Johnson gets under it. Right center, chasing Ankiel back. And look at this ball carry out of here for Nick Johnson's first home run of the year. And for Nick Johnson, his 77th career home run. And a 3-for-4 day.
Ball wasn't carrying that much yesterday to straight away, but that was out in that area that you had mentioned early in the ball game that might be protected, Scott, by the scoreboard. Little breeze drifting in. Low and away fastball, low and not far enough away, but that got up and just hung and hung and hung and got about 4 rows deep.
Nick Johnson's first home run since 2006. Kearns 0 for 3. And 2 for 7 in the series. He goes up the middle and Wainwright has it. Nationals have had solo homers in the 8th inning. First 2 games of this series not over yet. Down to their final 3 outs and it's 4-2 St. Louis. Bottom of the 8th inning in St. Louis, and find out what life is like down on the farm. The Potomac Nationals getting ready to get things going, and you might have a chance for the ultimate minor league experience. Go to PotomacNationals.com and register. You might meet your favorite Ponats player, take a round of BP, throw out the first pitch, sit in the owner's box with 3 of your friends, and take home a team autographed baseball. Nationals today, Nationals tomorrow. Ludwig Molina Kennedy for St. Louis. Bottom of the 8th here at Busch Stadium. Jesus Colome, his 2nd inning of work. So it's possible the Nationals get through this entire ball game with only 2 pitchers used, and that'll have the bullpen in good stead for tomorrow. And this is a save situation. When we get to the top of the 9th, that Tony La Russa goes with his bullpen. And you know who? Well, there's Anthony Reyes. Wonder what that's all about.
Well, Isringhausen threw quite a few pitches last night.
Wainwright's at 107 pitches. Now Wainwright has been stretched out in the past up to the 120 pitch or higher range, which was normal when Don Sutton and other legends of the game were towing the rubber back in the day.
Shoot, I don't think he started counted till 155.
What did Nolan Ryan had some ridiculous pitch counts, didn't he? Didn't he?
He had 200.
He went up 170, 180, 200 couple times.
He had over 200. I remember reading about.
Isn't that something?
Well,
his agent would sue the ball club these days for that.
Well, when you walk 8 and strike out 17, you're going to tally up a few pitches.
Yeah, that's a few. That's a lot of grunts. Swing and a miss, and Colome gets his 2nd strikeout. Nolan Ryan was grunting between the lines long before tennis players were. Johnny Holiday and Ray Knight with Nats Extra postgame. Presented by ChevyFirst.com, coming right up from St. Louis. Don and I will chip in from the ballpark as well. And Yadier Molina 2 for 3. You know, this St. Louis ball club, and I talked to Rick Hummel, one of the great sports writers in America, baseball writers, about the empty seats here. He said that all winter long the fans have been told how bad the baseball team's going to be. With bad weather, they just haven't bothered to come out and watch the team. Now, still some empty seats on a beautiful day like this, but this club gets off to a good start and they're getting good pitching. The National League Central is not exactly the best division in baseball. People were saying St. Louis might finish 3rd or 4th. They look a little better than that right now.
Seems like every time a starting pitcher goes out there, though, he does a job that the next starting pitcher has to really work to stay up with. And that's one of the things that they were talking about here, is that the starting pitching is setting the standard. They're setting some pretty high marks.
Rick Hummel, who you just saw in that shot, was inducted into the writers wing at Cooperstown last year. Yadier Molina with a comebacker, thrown out by Colomé. And with the bases empty, 2 outs, Adam Kennedy will be the hitter, and he's had a 1-for-3 day. Nationals 6, 7, and 8 due up in the 9th. I don't know if they were shaking hands in the dugout. Reyes is throwing. I will not be shocked to see Wainwright come out for the 9th.
Well, usually, though, if that reliever keeps throwing the whole top of the inning, he's going to pitch to 9th. And once you get the round of attaboys, that's usually the end of the day for you if you're the starter. You know, usually if you're not sure you're going to pitch, that reliever would get loose and then he just kind of stand around and sightsee. But Reyes has been working intently.
That kid has had a checkered career. All the talent in the world, but he's had a hard time harnessing it. I mean, if you get to see him throw, you'll see an easy motion and the ball just explodes out of his hand. But he's never been quite sure where home plate is on a regular basis.
Strong upper body, too.
I mean, he went 2-14 last year. 1-1 to Kennedy. Ball 2. Three and 1. Well, I guess we'd find out if Chris Duncan bats next that Wainwright is indeed through for the day, because the pitcher spot is the 8th spot up next. Dave Duncan's son, one of 2 now playing in the major leagues. Right on the corner. No, it wasn't.
And Duncan is going to hit, so that is the end of the day for Wainwright, and a good outing for the young right-hander.
8 innings, giving the Nationals 2 runs on 8 hits. He walked 1 batter and struck out 4. Now, he's had bigger strikeout days, but he was more of a pitcher today, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was getting a lot of first pitch strikes, and true to form, not many walks in his career. 1 home run, a total of 13 all of last year. So what has become a somewhat typical Adam Wainwright game.
Chris Duncan's a big, strong kid who plays the outfield. And some pop in his bat. And he's had a couple of injury issues in spring training that have slowed him down some. He's 26 years of age, or will be on May 5th. And for St. Louis, he had 21 homers and 70 RBIs last year. Ray King, in case this goes any farther. Ray told me that he used to play here. The fans out around the bullpen, the visiting bullpen, are very courteous. They cheer you when you show up before the game, but they boo you when you start warming up. As opposed to Philadelphia, where you're booed as soon as you put on your uniform. Ray was quite popular here. 2-0 to Duncan. Colomé having a hard time finding the plate. Not that time. Ball out of play, left side.
Velocity and movement have never been a problem for Colomé. Even when he backs off his fastball, it's still 92, 93, and it jumps away from left-handers. Sometimes he'll start pulling off the ball. That's when it runs out of the strike zone away from left-handed hitters.
Phillies are in the bottom of the ninth. That's Cincinnati tied at 3. So the Reds trying to get a walk-off win there. Tampa Bay 6, Yankees 1, 8th inning at Yankee Stadium. The only team in baseball that has the Yankees number.
They are a force to be reckoned with in the American League East this year.
They have as much talent as young talent as anybody, right?
Well, they spent the bulk of their years recently developing everyday players and not getting pitchers. Well, they got a couple in trades. Now they're starting to develop young pitchers. So they're rounding out a good minor league system.
3-2 now. Adam Kennedy will get a head start at first base.
And they have a good guy managing there for dealing with young players, Joe Madden.
Maddening would be a good word for Colomé's 8th inning here. First 2 batters retired quickly, and now the next 2 walked, and Cesar Izturis coming to the plate. Izturis is a switch hitter, and it looks like Maniacta likes Ray King against him batting right-handed. They will run for Chris Duncan here.
Well, the social calls are always made by Randy St. Clair. Usually when Manny makes that long, slow walk, he's bringing the hook with him.
Ray King, who used to pitch for the Cardinals, will pitch against them when we bring you back after this word. Nationals baseball on Masson, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With Southwest, you're now free to be more productive. Visit southwest.com today. Main concourse of Busch Stadium, right behind home plate here. Busch 3, they call this. And Cesar Izturis will face Ray King, who pitched for the Cardinals in 04 and 05 after that deal involving Adam Wainwright. Joined the Rockies in 06, the Nationals, and then Milwaukee last year. And he ties Saul Rivera for busiest on the staff here with his 4th appearance.
I remember the day he was traded, I was saying goodbye to him. He said, "Oh, I'll probably be back next year." I'll probably be back.
Left-handed relievers can go home again.
I think there's a comfort level here too for Ray. He brings a great ingredient to the ball club and to a young bullpen. He brings that a positive attitude, and I think other than fastballs and sliders he brings a good mentor, a good role model down there.
I've never seen Ray so nice and courteous as he has been this weekend. His mom is here.
Well, that'll do it
for the weekend series. Delighted to meet her last night. 2 balls and a strike to Izturis. Pop fly out of play right side.
Ray, as you can tell, has shed a few pounds, and one of his motivations I read in an article recently was to lose the nickname Burger.
We're going to have to call him King Salmon here pretty soon, right? Because he gave up the hamburgers and ate a lot of salmon over the offseason. Two. Breaking ball up and in. Nationals trying to get this game a 2-run game into the 9th inning. Belliard, Lopez, Flores the do-ups. The Nationals do have a left-handed bat, Willie Harris, on the bench. They wouldn't hit for Belliard, but they could hit for Flores. Bases loaded. 3 consecutive walks and 7 walks issued by the Nationals today.
See, that's the thing, too, that frustrates. We talked earlier about 8 other guys behind you, wanting to play behind you. Ryan Zimmerman made it very plain the other night that there were some great plays made behind Tim Redding because he worked in a nice rhythm and kept the ball in play.
Only one batter who walked today scored. Pujols back in the 3rd. But the bases are loaded for Skip Schumacher. Ray gets a strike on a nice breaking ball.
Greg Maddux, who has an interesting philosophy on a lot of things, smartest pitcher I was ever around. Somebody used to ask him about walks. Now, remember, he never walked anybody. He said, they're not that big a deal if you get the people out behind them.
And Maddux was good at knowing who was coming up and who was in the hole, and oftentimes would walk a guy he didn't want to deal with, knowing he was going to get those guys to follow. Back to the screen, and the Nationals give a run away. Kennedy colliding there with Ray King, and it's a 5-2 game.
You know, home runs frustrate people, but these are the kind of runs that frustrate everybody. That's probably going to be a pass ball. It looked like a cutter that he should have caught. Ray King comes in there, does a good job of making sure he gets himself there. Tagged him after the ball came back because he thought he might have blocked him. I haven't seen official scoring on that, but that might be a pass ball.
Appeared to be. It was well outside, but well off the ground.
The guy got on a walk and scores on a wild pitch. That was one that'll gnaw at your guts.
Well, and it almost ruins your top of the 9th, because now you have to get 2 runners aboard to even have a sniff of tying the game. They finally determined pass ball. Takes a long time to get past balls these days.
Making it an unearned run to this point.
Out of play left side. All the ball games have been tight ones. This could be the exception today. By the time this inning is over, and the Cardinals haven't put the bat on the ball to do anything here. That's what's frustrating. Zimmerman's going over to have a look, and it looks playable for him, but now it keeps blowing and blowing. The wind's coming in from the right field corner, and I think Ryan thought with the spin on the baseball it was going to come back in, and it never did.
Well, there's just enough breeze, and that ball got up high enough that it could push it into the seats. Coming off of a left-hander, that ball is going to come off his bat, spinning toward the stands as it goes up, but that same spin is going to bring it back most of the time to the fielder on the way down.
Those are the ones showing the breeze out there coming in from right field. 3-2 now. First base open, and Skip Schumacher continues to battle here. Reds got a run in the bottom of the 9th and beat the Phillies 4-3. So the Phils are 2-3 now. That's the first final of the day that rolls in. Breaking ball out to left. Felipe Lopez, who has a shortstop, really went back on the ball great. Damaging run. Ronnie Belliard in the top of the 9th, followed by Felipe Lopez, and scheduled.
3 down with 3 outs to play. Time for us to duck in our ChevyFirst.com drive of the game, and it goes to Nick Johnson, who's tried to do his part today. He's driven in both the runs, single in the 4th, single in the 6th, and picked up his first home run, a high towering blast to center. That coming with 2 outs in the 8th inning. It is 5-2, and that is our ChevyFirst.com drive of the game.
And evidently, it takes a USC connection to pitch in this ball game today. Anthony Reyes, a former USC Trojan. St. Louis drafted him out of USC in the 15th round in '03. He had been taken by the Tigers the year before that and did not sign. Crazy year last year, 2-14 with a 6.04 ERA, 22 games, 20 starts, and then they sent him down to the minor leagues. Tremendous stuff. See what he does with it here. He does not have a major league save, and this is a 3-run save situation.
Nationals have gotten him for 5 runs in 5 innings.
Yeah, they knocked him out early in a ball game here last year. Weekend in May when the Nats won 2 out of 3. They might be battling to salvage 1 tomorrow before we come home. Reyes 6'2", 230, 26 years of age. Ronnie Belliard 1 for 2 with a walk.
Reyes pitched a lot out of the stretch last year. He had something like 160 base runners in 106 or 7 innings.
Wow. He had a good spring, and many thought he would be in the rotation. Bringing up an interesting story involving Dave Duncan. A local radio talk show host called Duncan live on his cell phone at spring training, didn't tell him he was on the air, and wanted to talk about why Anthony Reyes wasn't a starter. That ball is down the right field line with some carry to it, and Ronnie Belliard's going to go to second base. When Dave Duncan found out he'd been put on the radio without being told, he threatened to contact the FCC, and that radio talk show host was fired yesterday. Dave Duncan, normally mild-mannered, got pretty upset over the whole situation. They call him the Deacon. He's so quiet and so reserved and so serious about his business. And Anthony Reyes working out of the bullpen, and the Nats get to him for a double, and here's Felipe Lopez.
Wonder how far, let's say they get a couple hits and he has trouble finding the strike zone. I wonder how far they'll go with him before they're concerned about losing this lead.
Franklin, McClellan, Springer, who went on the DL, and Isringhausen, all right-handers, all pitched in the game last night. Felipe Lopez, base hit down the right field side his last time. Oh boy, that run in the bottom of the 8th really looks big now. Reyes takes a little bit off and misses. But Jason Isringhausen is 35 years of age. And early in the season, Tony La Russa trying to protect his bullpen. The other right-hander they have is Kelvin Jimenez, who they called up today after they DL'd Springer. And Jimenez has pitched in a total of 34 major league games. That was a funny swing.
On a good changeup. You know, he has a herky-jerky motion, so he's going to hide the ball well. It'll be hard to pick it up. Then when he pulls the string on it, makes the changeup all the more effective.
Nobody out. Runner at second, top of the 9th. Felipe Lopez to the gap in left center, but it's slicing back to Schumacher for the first out. Flores will bat, and then the Nationals will walk Aaron Boone to the on-deck circle. Willie Harris still in there, Paul Loduca if needed, and that guy named Nunn, the only switch hitter because Dimitri Young is gone. You might put G-O-N-E instead of N-O-N-E down there. Switch hitter gone. Back in Washington for treatment on his painful back.
And the reason you choose Boone in this situation is he has more power than the other 2 guys. And if he comes up there, you hope that he could walk into one as he has done in the past.
Flores Hits it off to the right side, and he's in the hole 0-2. Kyle Loesch and John Lannon at 2:15. First pitch tomorrow.
Remember, we saw Lannon pitch last year. It seemed like every time he had a huge collection of family. I wonder if they were alerted early enough to make it into the Midwest here.
A long way from Long Beach, New York. And Flores goes deep to left field. How far is it going? How about into the bullpen for a 2-run homer and a 5-4 game?
Oh, the pass ball and the walks.
Still only one out here in the ninth, and Aaron Boone coming up.
And activity starting in the bullpen for the Cardinals. Watch this swing. Lifts the front leg, but that's a power swing. The hips fly open, but they don't drag the upper part of the body, so the energy is spent. And Jesus Flores, I swear I thought he looked strong, but I thought he looked baby strong last year, if that's a term I can coin. Young strong. Now today he looks in spring training he looked man strong.
The left-hander Randy Flores is back up in the St. Louis bullpen. They used Ron Vallone, the veteran lefty, last night. Oh yeah, Flores went to USC, by the way. Did I mention that?
We're having a reunion here.
Yeah. Big spot for Aaron Boone. 1 for 5. 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter. He goes up hacking like pinch hitters do. And this is a guy, Don, who's hit 120 career home runs.
Yeah, that's why he's here, to tie it up with one swing. That's why he's here in this at bat. And you see the approach to that pitch. He was looking for a pitch to pull.
Well, you'd hate to lose this game because of a lack of concentration by a reliever who got the first 2 men in the 8th inning and then walked the number 7 spot and the pitcher spot. Then another walk and a pass ball, and the Nationals have 1 extra run to make up.
Still got 2 outs to play with, but if it turns out this way, that'll be another nail biter game the Nationals have been involved in.
1-2 now. Boone stays with it and flies it easily to right for the hustling Ludwig. It'll be Guzman now, the Nationals' final chance. Johnny Holiday, Ray Knight standing by in our Masson studio for the ChevyFirst.com Nats Extra postgame. This would be, and oh, look at La Russa. He's going to go with, against the switch hitter, he's going to bring in Randy Flores.
Well, we talked about Guzman seemingly having more power as a left-hander than he does as a right-hander. What Tony La Russa is going to do is try to bring up the singles and line drive hitting Guzman rather than the guy who could possibly tie it up with 1 swing.
Randy Flores has 4 major league saves as he comes in to turn Guzman around from the right side. 1 more out to play with for the Nats.
We are within 1 thanks to 1 swing of the bat of Jesus Flores. A Belliard double, and here's a look at the fastball drifting back in toward the right-hander. All over it, high, deep, and into the bullpen, and back to another nail biter.
Nationals, like Bergman, hanging around here in the 9th inning. Flores hit a homer, and that gets a Flores into the game. Left-handed Randy Flores, 32 years of age. And Christian Guzman is 5 out of his first 9 from the right side of the plate this year.
over 2 against Flores, and this is not his power side, so he's going to jump on the first pitch and put a lid on it.
Walks and a pass ball fatal to the Nationals in the bottom of the 8th inning, or they would have tied the game. Instead, the Cardinals win it 5-4 for the 2nd consecutive game in this weekend series. Don and I have more from Busch Stadium straight ahead. Cardinals hold on to win it over the Nationals 5-4. Adam Wainwright big with the bat and the arm today. For Don Sutton and Debbie Taylor, Bob Carpenter. Hope you can join us tomorrow. We get you going at 1:30 with the pregame show. And folks, that's on Masson 2. This has been a presentation of the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. Stay tuned. That's Extra, presented by ChevyFirst.com. Johnny and Ray right now.